You're listening to Natural AF. I'm your host, Isaac.
And I'm Alexa.
And this is the show where we dive into how to connect to your true identity, connecting to nature, and doing away with all the artifices that have been kind of forced upon us or just kind of lazily we've collected along the way. And as you can see, we're in a different environment, get a different background. And this is real life, folks. This isn't a green screen.
Yeah, we are up on the beautiful Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Isaac and I decided to take a very spontaneous trip away to celebrate our 2-year anniversary. Happy anniversary, babe.
Yeah, happy anniversary. Yeah,
it feels like way longer, by the way, guys. It feels like we've been together like 20 years, but in a good way, Yeah,
she make sure she puts that in there. Yeah. So for those listening, I've got these beautiful Australian trees behind us, and I've been listening to the birds all morning, and it's just incredible. It's just, it's like my dreams come true. Moving from Wyoming. Wyoming's great. It's got its ups and downs. It's very windy, cold, dusty sometimes. And here it's like sea level. I've always had this fascination with the coast and the water, and I would love to move up here. And
yeah, it's a beautiful spot. I've actually never been. We've been to the sunny coast once before. It was a very quick trip, but it was more on the southern end of the sunny coast, and we're up in Noosa, around Noosa Way. And we're just in love. We're literally we're low-key planning to move here.
Yeah, if you're from Australia and you haven't been up here, you definitely got to come and check out Noosa.
All right, well, this week's episode is a doozy. This is one of my favorite conversations with the amazing Nellie Barnett, who I've known about for quite some time now, and am dying to do her German New Medicine course, and now this Freya course, which is basically centered around the conversation that we had today. So it's looking at the masculine feminine dynamics, especially within relationship from a biological perspective, using the Germanic Healing Knowledge that is becoming more and more popular now. And I mean, we absolutely love this conversation. I think any new perspective on the masculine feminine dynamics, I'm always really keen to hear about, because there's so much misunderstanding around this topic and a lot of sort of pop information that's out there, especially on social media, with people that are just like, spouting this information, but it's not coming from an embodied place. It's just like stuff that they know.
Yeah, stuff that people know about, but don't actually live and practice and put into their real life. And this kind of took me by surprise, because German New Medicine or Germanic Healing Knowledge, I didn't think really delved into this. The masculine and feminine thing, it's more than just an identity. It's more than just a sexual preference of sorts. I think there's a lot here that needs to be explored, because there is a serious problem with male fertility and female infertility in the West, and also an identity crisis that's not just confusing people mentally, it's actually confusing their bodies. There's all kinds of health problems that are just rampant. And I think this is at the core of this. Your identity as a man or a woman is kind of just 0.0. That's just where you are. What's your center? And it also shapes how you connect to God and how you view that. And it's important to get that right.
Yeah, well, in a lot of this conversation, we're really talking about straight heterosexual relationships and the masculine feminine polarity. So I just want to make that clear. And we don't do trigger warnings on this show, but ladies, you might be triggered by listening to this episode. I know if I was listening to this 5 years ago, I totally would have been triggered, because I am of the generation of, girl power, female empowerment. We can do anything. We can do anything a man can do. And, that's all fine. Technically it's true. I think, well, not everything. I think if, there was a landslide, I would probably be useless. I'd want a man around. If there's things that need to be fixed and big heavy things that need to be carried, we physically can't do everything a man can do. But I used to be very, very indoctrinated to that whole agenda, and I used to get really triggered by hearing stuff like this. But listening to it now, and again, in our relationship, as so many of you know, listening to this podcast, we've been very open about our previous relationship challenges and how different our relationship is now. And listening to what Nellie's talking about in this episode, it's definitely resonant for me as truth, because I can see how the dynamic plays out differently with Isaac and with Isaac and I. And it's a lot of the stuff she's talking about. So it's absolutely fascinating. I really hope you guys enjoy this one. And I really want to hear from people after you listen to it. Like, let us know what came up for you. Is this something you've experienced in your relationship or in your previous relationships? Yeah, I'd love to hear from people.
Yeah. This fits so well with Natural AF and the ideas behind natural art form. Because to me, it's all about, like, you see the shirt, my shirt says performance and recovery, and it's peak performance is something I've been interested in, but it's not just about like physicality and stuff, but it's just being the maximum of who you are created to be. And I do believe in a creator, and I do believe that we have some innate skills and abilities and design purposes. And sure, there are some women that are more, that are maybe more geared towards like a harder lifestyle. There's some that are geared more towards like a very gentle, very soft lifestyle. But the core essence of who you are as a woman, I feel like the boundaries have been eroded. And as men, as what the core essence is, what the purpose is, what the meaning of like, what is a man here for, have been eroded. And when you start to put the boundaries back up, the borders in a garden is what makes a garden beautiful. Boundaries and definition, the shape, it's just a natural evolution. And I'm all about being the best man that I can be. And I'm in love with a woman that's interested in being the best woman that she can be. And when we have our two separate lanes, we have these very, very important parts of our purpose in our life. When we focus all of our energy and love and attention into being that one thing, not crossing lanes and, trying to, confuse everything, it just makes a very beautiful, very harmonious life. And I think we have a very beautiful relationship because of that. And it frees us up from trying to chase things that we aren't meant for.
Yeah. And how fitting with our 2-year anniversary, putting this episode out. It's, very fitting. We didn't plan for this. Yep. So anyway, but speaking of natural evolution, which you just mentioned, we actually want to take a moment to thank all of our natural art form customers that are listening to this. We just want to say a big thank you, because our business has grown in the last 3 to 4 months especially. And a lot of that's due to our online sales picking up. And we actually don't pay for any advertising. The only place we advertise is here on the podcast. And we do markets on the weekend, but pretty much all of our online sales are through word of mouth, and they've picked up so much, both here and in the States. But we know, like, when the orders come through for Australia, like before it was always like people that we knew, we could recognize the names. And now when we get orders through, like, they're all new names. We don't know who any of these people are, but we know that they're being recommended to our existing customers. So we want to say a very big thank you to all of you that have supported our business.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of our customers are sharing it with their family members that they care about. And I just had a great experience at the market this past weekend with a family like that. It just reminds me of so much of the love that I experienced in my own family, and then here with Alexa and her family, of just the younger generation loving and caring for the older generation and sharing good things and really creating this love bubble, so to speak. It is protection, because in this world, there's so many things with harmful ingredients, and there's a lot of companies that I don't think hold that same level of care and attention to, like, really treating their customers in the best way. So that's what we want to do. We want to care for your bodies like we care for our own, and that love reciprocates. And I know that a lot of the customers now, because of the way that it's spreading organically, it's like an extended family of sorts. It's people that I know have similar values. So definitely see that and appreciate that. And I love meeting you at the markets. So.
Yeah. And if you want to continue to support us and support your own health and your body, head to Natural Art Form. You can get a 10% discount for life. No matter how many times you could use the code NaturalAF10, you'll get 10% off on all of our product range. Share it with your friends and family. We always want to reward you as much as we can. And if you haven't already, join the mailing list when you head to the website, because that's always the first place that we post any updates, really, whether we're launching new products or we've got sales on. And this month's newsletter that just went out, we're really highlighting the Living Free Festival, because we're just a few weeks away now, and we're so pumped. It's going to be so much fun. Isaac and I are both going to be there, not only with Natural Art Form, we'll have our stall there, but Isaac's going to be co-emceeing. I'm running a workshop on aligning the unconscious mind. There's always so many amazing people there. It's a big camp out, great music. It's just such a great vibe. So we really hope that we see a lot of you there. Yeah. And we've also got discounted tickets for that too, using the code NATURALAF at livingfreefestival.org. The link is in our link tree. So if you head to the show notes, find the link for our link tree, all of our links are in there. And we've got one specifically that'll take you straight to the Living Free Festival website. Yes, we hope to see you there. And well, without any further ado, let's get into the episode. Yeah, let's do it. Nellie Barnett is a multidimensional mum of two who has been working with Germanic Healing Knowledge, also known as German New Medicine or GNM, since early 2016. She also holds certifications in NLP, trauma-informed breathwork, and the Demartini method, just to name a few, with GNM and Germanic Healing Knowledge being the roadmap that underpins all of her work. Freedom of choice, radical self-responsibility, and empowerment of the individual are at the top of Nellie's core values list, along with a deep love for nature and a drive to experience as much adventure and joy in life as possible. As the leading GNM teacher in Australia, Nellie's mission is to ensure this information is accessible to as many families and individuals as possible, lead the way in changing the wellness paradigm for generations to come, and to help people experience not only the health benefits of this new paradigm, but the profound personal growth and evolution that it invites to. Welcome to the show, Nellie Barnett. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to have you on Natural AF to talk about German New Medicine and whatever else pops up in this conversation. Oh, it's such an honor to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Always love a tangent, so I'm here for those.
Yeah. Well, we heard you recently. I mean, I came across you probably a few years ago now, and we'll get into, because I really want you to share your personal story and sort of and how you came to German New Medicine, because I remember first hearing your story and it really resonated with me because I've had a similar sort of life experience, let's say. And but most recently we heard you on an interview talking about the masculine feminine dynamics from a GNM perspective, which we just found fascinating. So can't wait to dive into that. But let's open it up and just tell a bit of your story and sort of how you found your way to German New Medicine.
Yeah, for sure. So it was one of those, just those seed moments. We had just moved over to Margaret River I'd been in like quite a high level corporate role for a few years, which was pretty stressful. Moved over, I was like done with that, not where I wanted to raise my kids in Sydney. So I came over here where my partner's from, and my body just wasn't functioning that well. And so my partner, Dan, hooked me up with a friend of his who is also called Dan, who is a kinesiologist and like just absolute, health nut. And so went in and saw him, had a kinesiology session. We started talking about actually extended fasting, and that's how my journey, like this part of my journey and my business really started out. But in that same conversation, we're talking about fasting, and then he just goes, oh, and then there's this thing called German New Medicine. Have you heard about that? And I was like, no, what is that? And just like instantly, it was one of those things that I was like, what is that? Tell me more about that. It just instantly felt like a remembering, like coming home. And then as he started to explain it a little bit more, it was like a 5-minute conversation, but everything he said was just like everything that I had intuitively known for my whole lifetime. He just explained and started to put structure and words to. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is for real. This is a thing. I literally went straight home and started studying. So that was 10 years ago. And it was like just that tiny seed in that conversation. The fasting part, I ended up fasting for the entire month of February. And that really just like reset my body. And during that time, I was exploring GNM so much, and it kind of just all started weaving in together. And from that experience, my business was born, because I was just like, this is it. This is me. This is everything. And originally my business was called Elysian Pharmacy, which was spelled Pharmacy. And yeah, I actually started out with fasting. So I was guiding people through prolonged fasting journeys like I had done. And then I was starting to weave German New Medicine into it. And I was just seeing the most profound results with that combination. Um, 10 years ago, like no one knew about GNM in Australia. You know, everyone just thought I was completely crazy. So it was a very long, probably still do, to be honest, but it was a very long and lonely road, right? You know, back 10 years ago, found one or two people here and there, just self-studied so much through the teachers that were online over in like US and Europe. And then bit by bit, it started to kind of gain a bit of momentum. COVID happened, the global theatre happened, and so GNM just like exploded, to be honest. And now a lot of people that I speak to in the holistic health world, I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard about that. Tell me more. So it's so nice to have some other people on the pioneering path alongside me in Australia. And yeah, that's kind of like, I guess, the GNM learning journey for me in an absolute nutshell. That's how I came across it. But I would say as well that like natural health has always been something I've been interested in right from really, really young, like really, really young. It just never made sense to me to like take medications, or that our bodies were like so against us that these things would randomly happen. So yeah, right from really young, I had a pretty strong opinion like on even the medical world and health and that sort of thing. So that was kind of already there. Went through pretty hectic like suicidal depression at about 19 was actually it was probably younger than that, but when I really started looking into it myself, I was probably 19, and I already was going to the doctor like, this is happening, but I don't want to go down the medical route. Can you suggest anything else? So that was already there. And I'd say that was really like the starting point of me. He was like, well, you can take some St. John's wort. And that I was like, is that it? Is that all you've got? Like, and so that was kind of the starting point of me independently starting to branch out and look at all sort of different streams of mental and physical health. And the first place I went was actually NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And that's what I managed to bring myself out of that hole with. I didn't understand it in the context I have now with German new medicine, but it was enough to bring me out of that. And then, yeah, that kind of really, I guess, created the trajectory of where things went for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Amazing.
The foresight or the instincts at, 18, 19, however old you were, to want to stay away from something pharmaceutical definitely served you well. And you can see now, like in hindsight, the road could have been much different, and you would be in a very different place perhaps if you'd gotten into that loop, that hamster wheel of medication and swapping to this and then more symptoms. And
well, it's interesting. We were just talking about this in our previous episode with Jerry Marzinski. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he worked in the psychiatry. He was a psychiatrist, and really long story short, he ended up basically discovering that his schizophrenic patients had like parasitic demonic entities basically attached to them, and that's the voices they were hearing. And and we were just talking about the psych industry, and that was my experience as well. I was diagnosed with depression at around 16, and of course the first thing they did was offer me drugs. At the time it was Lexapro had just hit the market, and the doctor said, we told her that I didn't want any because my mum came with me, and she gave me a trial. And the first thing my mum did was open the packet insert, and one of the first side effects is suicidal ideation. And she was like, why would I give my daughter that when she's already depressed? And actually, I'd love for you to just speak a little to, like, now your understanding of mental health, like through a GNM lens. What's your understanding of it now? Because I'm kind of with you. I kind of went from like the mainstream route, seeing psychologists and stuff, to now I view mental health, especially depression, very, very differently, not just from like a spiritual aspect, but just even what's going on in the body and the nervous system.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting because in some ways this actually weaves into our topic about masculinity and femininity today as well. Because it's all to do with the hormones through a GHK GNM lens. Yeah. So the nuts and bolts of it is like we've got the temporal lobes, right? And the left-hand side of the temporal lobes is our estrogen side that controls our estrogen. Right-hand side is testosterone that controls testosterone. And so it's basically the swing of these two hormones that creates a lot of our mental health labels. In GNM GHK, the whole mental health spectrum, we call them constellations. And basically, and this can be outside of the temporal lobes as well. But basically, when there is more than one conflict active, so we've got two or more conflicts active in the brain simultaneously on opposing sides, so one on the left, one on the right, it creates what we call a constellation. And basically then when we've got one on either side and they're both active simultaneously, the symptoms stop on the physical level and the changes shift to the mental behavioral level. And just like I know you guys have had Melissa Gray on, fabulous, love Melissa. So hoping that your listeners have got like a little bit of context of GNM here. And this is going kind of deep quite quickly, but basically, so the symptoms stop on the physical level. They go to the mental, emotional level. And just like we understand in GNM that the adaptations on the organ level when we've got an active conflict assist the individual in making it through the unexpected event, so too do the behavioral outcomes. So when it shifts to the mental behavioral, there will always be an aspect of that behavior that's now displaying that is actually assisting the individual to try and resolve the issues at hand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And is this more like a, is this something you would classify as like a coping strategy, or is this something that's like moving them towards actual healing? Yeah.
Yeah, so it is kind of a coping strategy. That would be a good way of saying it. It's like a subconscious, primal, biological coping strategy for what you've been through. So to give you a really quick example, like take megalomania, right? Like, so megalomaniac is someone who like knows it all, goes big all the time. Like you can't really tell them what to do. I run the megalomania constellation, by the way. They also have like a high drive for learning. They want to know it all. They want to come across like they know it all. And a megalomaniac constellation is the combination of self-devaluation conflicts. Usually we're talking about academic and emotional intellectual self-devaluation conflicts. So if you've got someone who's experienced a situation, multiple situations, where they perceive that they have not been good enough, self-devaluation, in relationship to something where it's like, I haven't been smart enough, or I haven't been emotionally smart enough or on top of it. You got several of those conflicts. Now, how does the behavioral traits of megalomania go towards coping with and solving that? So we just talked about megalomania. It's someone who has a high drive for learning and wants to come across as they know it all.
Yeah.
That is basically helping them cope, as you said, or solve these situations where they perceived that they were not good enough in terms of their academic or emotional intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So while we've got single conflicts, the adaptations are happening on the organ level. The musculoskeletal tissue is breaking down in conflict active to rebuild in healing phase to be better, stronger, faster than before. Once we've got multiples and opposing sides of the brain, the physical adaptations cease or slow down in the very least, and the behavioral changes come into play. So that's a generalized example. Now, if we come back to like depression, we're talking about the temporal lobes. This is what I started this little piece with, and this is what's relative to our conversation today in terms of masculine and feminine dynamic. So temporal lobes, left-hand side controls estrogen, right-hand side controls testosterone. This is the masculine hormone, estrogen's the feminine. So what is testosterone all about? What is the masculine hormone all about?
Like doing and activity and
it's very high.
defense,
protection, strength.
It's very active energy.
Yep, spot on. And what is the estrogen hormone all about? What are the characteristics of estrogen?
Well, it's more, I think it's like more, I always think of it more in flow, like not even necessarily like relaxed or so, but it's slower. Like it's more flowy. It's more like, more of a creative energy. I feel like it's more, what's the word? Passive, like, whereas, masculine's more active. It's more passive. Yeah.
So passive is the word that we would use, and testosterone is definitely the action hormone. So if we've got a conflict that lands on the testosterone side of the brain, it basically depresses testosterone. So it depresses activity, which is going to make the individual estrogen dominant, which is passive, right? And this is basically primary depression. So we've got we've got a depression of testosterone, we've got a lack of action, estrogen dominance. Women are emotional creatures. Like that's a whole beautiful part of our being and our makeup.
Yeah.
So we've got an emotional passive being. If the conflicts land on the other side of the brain, the left-hand side of the brain, we're depressing estrogen and we're making the individual testosterone dominant, which is basically, activity, like you said, doing. This is where someone might be in the manic state if they've got testosterone dominance that's out of, natural balance. So that's the swing between manic and depressive as a generalization. So if we've got more conflicts on the left-hand side of the brain, we're going to be depressed estrogen, more manic, testosterone dominant. If we've got more conflicts on the right-hand side of the brain, we're going to be testosterone depressed, more depressed, passive, emotional, right? That's general mania and depression. Then we have a couple of specific sets of constellations and conflicts within those temporal lobes that can really impact and create things like suicidal ideation. So the main two that we're talking about are the female version would be a sexual frustration conflict, it's called, and I'll come to what that means in a second. And the male version is a territorial loss conflict. So the sexual frustration impacts the cervix and the coronary veins. The male version, territorial loss, impacts the coronary arteries. So what is a sexual frustration? Well, the essence of a female is like her sexuality is basically everything to the female. And when I say sexuality, I mean that biologically. So basically that means
Procreation,
kids. Yeah. Great. Kids is her sexuality and procreation. Mm-hmm. What is the territory to the man and why?
Territory.
I'll leave this to Isaac.
The territory, well, I mean, I would imagine it involves his mate, his partner, and their kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, it's a big one for sure. Basically, the territory is to the man, whatever the child is to the woman and what the sexuality is to the woman. So, and we are starting to move into masculine feminine dynamics now. So, basically, like a woman, this is going to sound so harsh, but a woman is born with inherent value, right? Why?
Because if
they
it was,
can create more.
Yeah, if it wasn't for us, the humanity would cease to exist, to continue. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Your childbearing abilities make you inherently valuable at birth. Like you are born with your value. Your child rearing abilities are basically like all of everything to your biology. Mm-hmm. Now the man, we're talking from a like supply demand kind of perspective here. One single man can theoretically produce enough sperm to impregnate the entire female population in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Isaac's like,
Challenge accepted.
Classic.
That's a lot of sperm going on there.
Right?
Yeah.
So what is your value as a man? If one man can impregnate the entire female population in 2 weeks, what is your value at birth as a man?
Is it just sperm?
I can imagine a lot of different things. Well, if it's something that's less readily available in today's day and age, I would say it's like it's your ability to protect and your honor, like your ability to create safety for the woman.
Yeah, well, so just go back a step. So like if one man, so talking supply and demand, I'll phrase the question differently. How much value do you have at birth if one man can impregnate the entire female population in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's much lower, very, very low because there's a glut of supply. Yeah.
Okay. Correct. So woman can reproduce, if she's quick, about every 3 years. This is a pretty fast turnaround. There are some who do it faster, but 3 years. So we need women and their sexuality, but men, not born with so much value. So how do you as a man get your value? How do you create your value?
Oh, is it what he said before? Like the protection, offering the protection and providing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it.
Gathering
But we would
resources.
say, yeah, it's basically skill building.
Mm.
So your value lies in your abilities and your ability to protect and provide and your skill sets and in your territory. So you basically have to accumulate territory to gain your value. And you do that through your abilities and your skills.
Mm.
So this is why the sexuality to the woman on the left-hand side, sexual frustration conflict, is like the most valuable thing. And the direct opposing side for a man, territory, is the most important, valuable thing to him. Because without territory, he basically has no value, right? Biologically speaking.
In what ways are you defining territory for this example? Like, where does this apply? Just like land ownership? Or are you talking other forms?
Yeah, other forms. So you guys came up with a really great example first off the bat. So a woman can definitely be a man's territory. It's basically anything he acquires that is like his domain. So it can be woman, it can be children, it can be home, it can be car, it can be career, it could be your office, it could be your phone, whatever you perceive that is under your jurisdiction, under your responsibility, that is your territory. And you will protect it to the same degree that a woman will protect her child. Anything that is your territory, because if you lose your territory, you lose your value. The woman protects her child with the same veracity, because if she loses her child and her sexuality, her value is gone. Right? So this is why these two go hand in hand. The female is the sexuality and the male is the territory.
I can already feel like the listeners, if they're out there, like prickling, because the conditioning is so different today. You know, we're talking about stuff that's very like based in biological laws, and I'm sure we'll get into that and things. But
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, I can already hear the neo feminists like in the if they came across this, they'd just be up in arms, wouldn't they?
Yeah. So basically, like from the GNM point, and this is it is primal. It is biological. That's what we're talking from, like the perspective we're speaking from. And nature is not always nice. Sometimes nature is harsh.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the perspective that we're speaking from. And yes, this conversation is probably going to be very triggering for some people. So just an invitation to come into this conversation with an open heart, an open mind. And for me, it's like, there's a sense in the body when there's truth to something. And that's what I kind of live by. And even sometimes when things are hard to hear, I can still go, oh, that's like, ouch. But also it's kind of true.
Yeah.
Like that's a sense for me in the body. So my invitation is for anyone listening just to come into your own clarity, your own groundedness, and take and leave whatever is for and not for you. But yeah, we're speaking from a very biological, primal perspective here. And pretty much like feminism screwed femininity.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny because that's just, I know if I had heard this conversation, even just like 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been so triggered, you know, because I was definitely like, I'm of the generation of like Spice Girls, girl power, female empowerment. And it's like, yeah, empowerment is great for everyone, not just females, but it's obviously like it's so much worse now. And I think because of the day and age that we live in now too, it's like we were just watching something last night and the woman's like, I just want a career, and I followed my career. And then at 40, she decided, I think I'll start dating now. And I was like, well, she's probably never going to have kids. Like if just at 40, you're considering dating, and that's like each to their own, like no judgment. But I just think, look how far away we've come from the natural way of being, where women would, you know, basically like what we said earlier, like literally continuing humanity, like, you know, birthing children and having families, and like so many women just aren't interested in that anymore.
Yeah. And in my perspective, like let's don the tinfoil hats, in my perspective, there is an intentional agenda here. Like
100%.
The way this has happened has been quite intentional to separate us from ourselves, from our true nature, from our true masculinity, femininity, respectively. I really do believe that there's been quite an intentional agenda.
Yeah.
And alongside that, I would also say, and this is the duality of me, right? Is that like, obviously I live and die by GNM, GHK, and this has just had such an impact in our lives that I can't, it's one of those things, once you know, you can't go back, right? And at the same time, I, as an individual, have this incredibly like deep trust in the way that things are unfolding, both universally, energetically, and independently, individually as well. So even when somebody hits that 40 mark and decides they now want a partner, even when somebody doesn't want to have kids, even when somebody does just want to focus on career, I have a very, very deep trust that they are treading the exact journey that they need to. And there is, a level of unconditional love there for that. And it's just coming back to that thing of like, that it's actually none of my business. My business is to live my life in the way that is aligned with my values and belief systems. But I trust that you're doing whatever you need to with yours. So yeah, just want to bring that to the table as well, so that this conversation, it doesn't come across as judgment. I'm just purely speaking from the biological GNM GHK standpoint, which has been incredibly valuable for my life. So of course I want to share it.
Yeah. And I agree. Like I remember when I first started wading into like just getting the word for like what feminism was, because I grew up, my mom called it women's lib. And back then she got a lot of flack for being a stay-at-home mom. It was like, oh, you're just a stay-at-home mom. Like, why don't you get a career? Why don't you get a job? Like what is it that the people would say? Like, oh, you're setting us back, like as if it was like holding other women back for just being at home with your kids. But obviously that's societal conditioning and programming. Could be, spiritual as well. Like I get into that with it. Like when you look at how society is shaped, like if you follow all this societal conditioning, psychology, the Jungian stuff, Freud and all that, some of these people, I believe that they have really good information. Their intentions are to be determined. So when you have a lot of psychologists putting their weight on this situation and putting it into schools where they're teaching young kids this new form of like feminism, and they have different waves of it, and it seems to be progressively getting, various forms of militant and all that. It's very like indoctrination-y. Like it just is obviously a concerted effort that's going somewhere. And you said that that feminism just screwed over women. Do you want to go more into like what that means? What were the repercussions of this, like this, what I would say is a false female empowerment?
And can I just tack on another question on top of that, just because of what you said, just something that came up just in terms of what they're teaching in schools and stuff now, because now they're pushing I call it the gender bender agenda, because it's this women, kids choosing what gender they want to be. And then from a German new medicine perspective, I think, well, what conflicts is that going to bring up? So I'd love to hear anything you've got to say around that as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to insert here as well, if we're going to go like more down this road of speaking to the masculine and feminine, I just really want to acknowledge here Dr. Sasha Tezik, who is he created the Freya program, which is basically the biology of love and relationships. So it's love and relationships biology based on the GNM GHK view. He's really the one who's put together this information. It's been my role to support him in bringing that to Australia. We've done 4 rounds now, another one coming up in September. But I just want to acknowledge that like this is based on my knowledge of GNM GHK, but also Sasha's 25 years in going into this information. Wow. So if anyone does want to follow this information, I highly recommend going there to get it, quote unquote, straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, definitely.
There will be parts of this conversation that I'm sure I will butcher because I'm 10 years into this, not 25 years into this. And it's, it is from Sasha. So I just want to acknowledge him as, someone who's really put this information together. And obviously I've been learning from that, plus my GNM GHK knowledge. So how did feminism screw femininity? I kind of mentioned it, I guess, a little while back, like it's basically separated us from our true biology, and it separated us from our kids as well. So leading the woman to believe that she, and there's so many tangents to this, I'm just trying to like, so basically leading the woman to believe that she can do everything the man can do, which in most cases is somewhat true. Like we are very capable as women, right? But do we want to? And is it biologically aligned? Is that where our energy is best spent? Probably not, because we have different skills and abilities to the man. So when we've led the woman to believe that she can do everything the man can do, and that a career is important for the woman to have, what we've done is separate her from her innate biology. We've separated her from the home. We've separated her from the children. And now we have children that are institutionalized and 2 taxpayers in every family. So that this is what you know, I do think there is intent and agenda.
There we go. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what that has further created is now we've got separation between the child and the mother, which is the most important bond biologically. We've got children in the care of, quote unquote, care of systems that are generic, not built for the individual child, that again don't really follow the nature of biology and what children need. And then we can go into like, what do girls need and what do boys need? There's massive differences there as well. So we've got this discord and disconnect between the mother and child. We've got discord, disconnect between the mother and herself, because she's now got this constant internal struggle between, do I work and follow my career and earn the money, or like, and you speak to almost every woman, including myself. This is a constant internal struggle of like, in most cases, the woman does have to work now. I don't know, like other countries, but in Australia, like the cost of living is at such a point that, you know, like we do have to work, most of us women. And there's this constant internal struggle between, I love what I do and I love my work and I want to work and I should work. But also I just want to be with my children and I just want to be keeping my home like the beautiful nest that it should be to welcome my man back into. So you've got disconnect in the woman and herself. She no longer knows what the heck is going on with her own biology and hormones because they're all over the shop. And then we've also got massive disconnect between the woman and the man. Because now the man is no longer living with a feminine female. He's now living with competition. And what does a man do to competition?
Usually you fight it or you beat it or you succumb to it.
Totally. You want to fight it. You want to overcome it. You want to crush it. Because as well, it's a threat to your territory. The woman, the true feminine woman, is your territory. But if she is not a feminine woman, she's not your territory. She's your competition. And you want to fight her because you don't want anyone else encroaching on your territory. So we've now got massive disconnect between the man and the woman. And we've got women who are unintentionally hugely emasculating men because of the way that we have been conditioned to behave, our expectations that have come largely thanks to Instagram, social media, and Disney. And yes, I am on Instagram. I run my business on there. I am fully owning the hypocrisy in this conversation. But we've got women who are emasculating men because of lots of dynamics there, speaking to men like they're our sons, servants, people lower than us. We're telling them what to do. We're ordering them around. And then the man's hormones go nuts. So now we've got a population of very softened estrogen dominant men. And things are a little bit skew-iff at the moment, as my dad would say.
And it's very much talked about these days that we are living in an emasculated society, and we see that in you know, from so many aspects. And I think that as your mum calls it, the women's lib movement, because that's kind of how it started, and the feminist movement, I think it did create that, because that started back in the 60s or 70s. And this is the knock-on effect now. We're now like almost 2 generations later. And that's how society is now. Like we have such a lack of strong masculine men. And we saw that during COVID, especially. It was the women that were standing up and saying no, not the men.
Yeah, 100%. I do think it was a pretty big wake-up call as well, though. I think there were so many beautiful benefits in the COVID era. Like, man, so much good came of that. It was a necessary event, in my opinion. You know, whole nother tangent.
Yeah. But, yeah, agreed. We're totally on board with that too.
Yeah. Whole nother conversation. But yeah, it has facilitated some really important changes. And this conversation is happening now. Like that people have a sense that things are not quite as they should be. Like things are really not working. We're pushing and pushing and pushing. We keep having more technology and more this and more that, and life should be getting better, but it's not. It's getting harder. It's getting more challenging. It's getting more emotional. It's getting sicker. And people are starting to really question, like, hang on a second, like, you know, what is going on here? So I think it has been the catalyst for amazing shift. I think that shift is really happening now. And if you want to talk, like, so if we go onto the gender neutrality and that kind of tangent as well, and again, no judgment, like you get to be whoever you want to be in this lifetime. From a biological standpoint, that is happening because we have the balance. So if you've got, imagine I've got like a pencil on my finger, and if you've got 100% masculine on this side, what do you need to balance it on this side?
100% feminine.
Yeah, correct. But if we've got like a woman who's more masculinized, say she's like 60% feminine, 40% kind of masculine, what do we need to balance it on the other side?
More masculine. Oh, no, sorry, less. We need feminine on the other side.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So like a seesaw, you know, you need equal weights. So the more we move in towards neutrality, like it all neutrals out, basically.
Yeah.
If we go back the other way, if the female refeminizes, then we've got to have a really like masculine male to balance that on the other side. So it's just that scale that's tipping. That's how we would explain it biologically through GNM GHK. And the other important part of that conversation is that it's the female that leads that process. And this is what...
Oh, this is interesting.
Podcast,
yeah.
Yeah, probably the podcast that you heard me on.
Yeah.
That this part of the conversation is what initiated that podcast.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people were like, what? No, like that's so wrong. But it's the female, and leads is actually the wrong word. It's the female that determines that process. The female goes first. So if you're imagine a pack of wolves and you've got like the alpha leader at the front, like leading the pack, but who determines the speed of that pack or how that pack travels?
Isaac, you probably know more about wolves than me.
Well, one aspect would be, I guess, the weaker or the slower, like whoever isn't the strongest, because that's who would slow everyone down.
Correct, right? So you've got a leader, but it's rarely the leader that actually determines how that pack goes. And from a feminine perspective, like if you've got kids, who determines how your day goes a lot of the time?
The kids.
Kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think I'm seeing where you're going.
It's the woman leading that, but she doesn't really determine a lot about how that goes. It's the child that determines how it goes. And the child is to the woman what the woman is to the man.
Yeah.
Right? So yes, the masculine should lead, but it's the feminine who determines how he will lead, where he will lead, at what pace he will lead. Yeah?
Yeah.
So
that makes
it's
sense.
the woman who actually needs to change first. Just like when your child grows or develops, how does that change the trajectory of how and where you lead as a mother? Yeah. So it's the woman who determines. So when we're talking about this neutrality or something that's feeling like out of biological balance, it is the woman who determines how that's going to go. So the more the woman masculinizes, the more the male feminizes. The more the woman steps back into femininity is going to produce a reaction in the masculine to re-masculinize.
Yeah, and you can see that in our relationship. It's funny. It's like we're met very well, but I am. I would say I'm probably a guy that has a little bit more, we'll say, like estrogen, feminine, plenty of testosterone, masculine. But I'm very comfortable like sitting at a table with women, like talking and listening. And I also really have this pressure to go out and hunt and do all that stuff. But I'm very, it's tempting to just sit back and be comfortable with the skirts. And we've got a woman here, Alexa, who's like, it's like, I need you out of the house. Like you're around here too much. You need to go build something or go do something or go club something with your mates. And like, so she's like pushing, like, get out of the house, go and do that. And I think that's a very natural thing that women can bring to that situation. Like you're saying, like you give a little bit of encouragement or discouragement wherever it's suited, but that will determine sort of kind of how the day goes, and it will add energy to whatever activity is, whether it's sitting around the house being lazy or she's like, get off the couch.
Yeah. Well, and it's just, this is why I find this conversation so fascinating, because I've had my own experience with, and our relationship is so different now. I was a very masculine woman. Like I was, I always worked. I quite often between relationships, I would live on my own, like very self-sufficient. And like you said, like they're not bad qualities to have, but I think there's a time and a place. And then when it comes out of balance and it's too much. And then I look back on my previous relationships, and especially my first two partners, they were definitely more feminine. And it's just interesting because we're talking about it on a collective scale, but everything starts at the individual scale. And that's why I think the relationship dynamics are so important, because that's kind of what sets the tone first and foremost. And then it goes to the collective.
Yeah, 100%. Like I absolutely, and I was actually I've got half a post written on this one. But like, in my opinion, it's 100% the woman who is going to determine how this revolution goes. Like 100%. Like it's the woman, it's us as mothers and women in the homes that are going to determine how this goes. And, whether nature needs to bring about something dramatic to reset, or whether we can create enough of a shift to come back into harmony with our true nature.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I mean. If it's the feminist movement, the women that created this emasculated society and emasculated men, then we're the ones that also need to like step back, let go. And this is the process that I've been through over the last few years. And then even just in the early stages of mine and Isaac's relationship was really actually when I was really sort of like stepping back and going, oh my God, like I'm so masculine. Like I was really learning more about the energies, because it's not like, obviously I look like a woman. I like to look nice and whatever. It's not the physical, it's the energy of it. And I realized I was very much like masculine dominant. And so it's a process. And that's like, first and foremost, it's a letting go, because that's how I say the masculine is very much control and the feminine is letting go of control, which proves to be very difficult for me sometimes.
Yeah, and look, everything in nature is always looking for equilibrium. So as a masculine female, you will attract a feminine male, right? Because again, we've got that scale. Yeah. So you're here, you need this to balance you. But if you're here, you need this to balance you, right?
100%.
So when we're masculine women, and I was very much the same, like I was a single mum for the first 3 years, like very career driven. And there are things that go. So basically, like if we experience conflicts in the temporal lobes back in childhood, this is already going to shift our hormonal balance as well, right?
Yeah.
Which again comes back to institutionalization of children, like what conflicts are they experiencing there that are altering their hormonal status that then plays out into life. But tangent, coming back. So if you are a masculine woman, you're definitely going to attract an estrogen dominant, feminized man. That doesn't mean though that it has to stay like that forever. If you shift, he shifts. If you move, he moves. And at the risk of getting too personal, Isaac, you mentioned just before that like you perceive yourself to be a fairly estrogenized man, you like to stay home, you could quite easily like hang out with the ladies. And my question here though is, like you mentioned, Alexa is often like, get out of the house, like go do something. And how do you respond to that? Like, has her giving you that order actually changed anything?
Well, it's more of like creating an opening for that to expand, like my natural masculinity. Because I'm not just one or the other. Like
but has her telling you to do that actually changed anything?
Not change anything. It's more of like a reminder or a prompt. And internally, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to be doing that.
Have you actioned her order?
I mean, kind of. I mean, it's kind of. But it's not so much from the direction. It's just more of like a natural thing that I do. Like I go out and, pick up handyman jobs and go to work and stuff. But it's not so much like responding to the order and being like, oh yeah, I need to go and do this. It's more of just like, you're right. I should do more things like this. It really lights me up. And
so would you like to know, because from what I'm hearing, like there's little shifts and you're like, oh yeah, it's opening up space, but it hasn't really catalyzed any big change there, right? It's not like you've really jumped up and responded to that when she goes, get out, do things. Would that be fair?
Yeah, well, sort of. So I guess what I'm saying is I already do that a lot naturally. Like I'm very integrated. I'll put it that way. I'm very integrated with that feminine side. It's more just noticing that I have a bit more of that than other guys, but it doesn't outweigh the masculine or the action or the building or the fighting or the whatever. It's just more integrated.
So Alexa, when you've given Isaac, like told him, go get out of the house or like do this, do that, what's your experience like? Do you notice that he actually does it, or do you keep coming back to the same things that you're asking him to do?
No, I think because we have conversations where I'm like, like I need my alone time and for a whole host of reasons, but I'm super into human design. I work with human design and I'm a non-energy type. He's an energy type. So from that perspective, I'm always taking in his energy and amplifying, and that can be quite exhausting. And we live in a really small place. We don't have like separate rooms. And yeah, so we have conversations where I'm like, oh, I love my alone time. And I'm not necessarily the one that always wants to be out, because when I'm out, I'm running around and I'm busy all the time. And I just like my space to be. And he does definitely make an effort. Like he definitely makes an effort to go out and do that more.
So in that piece there, you just used a specific word that is a really important distinction on when Isaac will respond to what you're saying and not. Do you have an understanding of what it was?
What did I say? Having conversations about it and not telling him.
I need my space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we, like, as women, so many of us have this perspective of like, we want our men to be the leaders, to be the kings, to be like these guys that lead us and take action and do the things, right? But would we say to a leader, to a king, go get out of the house? Like, can you go do something, please? Or go chop some wood or go build something. Would we say that to someone in a leadership position?
No.
Yeah, probably not.
This is where I'm coming to with the point of this question and conversation. Yeah. And I'm interested to hear, like, when I've explained this, what your take on it is, Isaac. So, we wouldn't order them, right? Like, who do we order? We order someone that we perceive to be below us, who we perceive to be less than, who we perceive to be needing push, needing help, needing, something, right?
Yeah.
And so, but when we say, I need, what is that kind of communication?
It's that, there's something you have something of value that offers, or you can help me, or it's more
well, that's softer. What I was going to say, because the way Isaac's saying is like, oh, she tells me to go. Like, I don't really speak to him that way. It's more about communicating what I need. So it's not I'm not telling him what to do. I'm just saying this is what I need, and then it's up to him how he facilitates that.
Yeah. So this is a really important distinction, right? Because if we are telling our men what to do, we're ordering them. We're basically putting them in this like position beneath us. Yeah. And we're speaking to them, speaking down to them effectively, not as someone that we respect. and then probably not going to do it. Like they might begrudgingly get up and do something for a little bit, but you're going to keep coming back to the same issues again and again and again.
And this was, can I just say, this was my previous relationships. That's literally what I used to do. And that's been such a big shift in our relationship because I became so conscious of it. And like you said, it never gets you anywhere. You just go round and round and round, and you constantly like that, you know, stereotypical nagging female. And there's honestly nothing worse.
Yeah. I'm like built, like, it's almost like, you know, when you mix cornstarch and water really, really thick, and it makes this, I forget the name of this solution, but if you hit it, if you push on it hard, it won't let you push into the fluid. But if you just sit there softly, it'll like, your hand will like sink into it. It's like, I forget the name of that.
Called? It's like magic something. Yeah. It's like Play-Doh, but not Play-Doh. So cool. Yeah. Such a good childhood memory.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of the picture I got, where it's like, go and do this. I'm just like, I'm a brick wall. Like I'm a mountain all of a sudden. Like I won't move at all.
Yeah,
but it's like,
an amazing
I need
analogy,
this. I wish I had more of this. And then, just my natural inclination is like, I'm going to give you everything, and I'm going to do it better than anybody else in the world. Like, this is
right.
Lights
because
me up.
She's speaking, because when somebody says I need, they're speaking to the part of you, the biological part of you that is wired as a man to protect and provide. Somebody needs something. Yeah, I'll do that. Because also the more I can protect and provide, the more I build my skill sets, the more territory I have, the more value I have. And this world is pretty competitive for men, right? So as soon as we shift that languaging from demanding, commanding, requesting to just stating what we need, and then, yes, Alexa, you mentioned also trusting him in the way that plays out, it's a completely different communication. All of a sudden we're putting in a need that needs to be met, and we're giving him an opportunity to rise and actually become more masculine, increase his skill sets, raise his testosterone, and fulfill that biological need and drive to protect and provide. So even things like trying to get guys to go to therapy is basically crushing them, because you're telling them you're not good enough. You're telling them like you need fixing or you need to be better, which is effectively further crushing their testosterone and like diminishing their sense of value, which is, remember, everything to the man is about his skill sets and abilities. So if we crush them, we're crushing him, we're crushing his testosterone. But as soon as we put those things in as like, I need this, and then he can go and figure it out, he's literally like a problem-solving machine, right? That's what he's here to do. So it completely changes the dynamic in a relationship and in communication.
So
totally.
Was it you? I'm starting to get like an inkling, like maybe this was you in an interview where someone was saying, if a woman criticizes a man, his testosterone will go down.
Correct.
Yeah, this was,
So that's so fascinating. So like that gets me into like, I mean, like what even is testosterone then? Like we're taught that it's like a chemical hormone, but it's almost like it's got this energetic thing to it too, where testosterone is a type of energy as well as just like a substance.
And it always starts with the perception, right? Like that's the whole basis of GNM, right? It's like it starts with the perception, how you perceive whatever's happening in your environment, and then that's dictating what's happening with the biology.
Yeah. But every time we criticize a man, it's basically like banking on his territorial losses and territorial conflicts as well. Because it's basically saying you're not good enough, which is the territory. It's everything to the man. It's like when we criticize a man, it's like a man standing in front of us as a woman, and feel this. It's like a man standing in front of you and going, yeah, you're nice, but you are not someone that I would want to have children with. I don't think you should have children. Like, how does that feel as a woman? It's crushing.
Yeah.
That's like, but that's my everything. That's my whole biology. That's like what I'm built for. So it would crush our estrogen and send us into testosterone dominance, which makes us do. Yeah. But when we criticize a man, it crushes his testosterone, which makes him more
feminine. Yeah.
Feminine.
Less
and
virile.
Passive.
Yeah. Right? So we are two opposites of the same thing. We criticize a man because we think it's going to make him do.
Yeah.
Because that's what it does to us. When we get criticized, crushes our estrogen, makes us testosterone dominant. Testosterone is the doing hormone. It makes us do, it puts us into action.
Yeah.
But when we criticize a man, it lands on the other side, his territorial side. It crushes his testosterone, makes him more passive and less likely to do. So we're coming at it like innocently from the way that we think it should work. But we've got to remember we're two opposites of the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yes, we emasculate a man, we crush him and his testosterone when we criticize him, for sure.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Like, that's why I think for me, like, first listening to you speak about this, it resonated because, I know for some people, like, hearing it for the first time, it's a bit of a what? Like, it's so, you know, it's a very different perspective. But I think because of, definitely like my own experiences in previous relationships and then our relationship now, it just resonates so deeply because, like you said, like even the way we communicate. And don't get me wrong, like, and actually I'll give this as an example because it's a perfect example because I think this is what most women is what I used to be like. This is what my mom, I've grown up with my mum being like this. It's like the mess around the house. And I'll pick up your mess. Why have you left your stuff here? Why I'm always picking up after you? And I actually always say to Isaac, it's so different now because every now and then I'll say to him, babe, can you just be a bit more mindful about where you leave your stuff? He's very like, I can literally, if I've been out for a few hours, I can come home and I can trace everywhere he's been because he leaves something everywhere. And, but for the most part, yeah, exactly. But for the most part, I don't like, again, comparing to my previous relationships, I just don't say anything most of the time. I just pick it up and I just clean up and whatever. And the difference I found in that is he's so appreciative. He'll always just come and say to me, oh, like, especially when I've cleaned the house, or whatever. And he's like, oh, I so appreciate you and just cleaning the house and whatever. And it's like, to me, that's the proof in the pudding where in the past when I would nag and like get really annoyed and just constantly be at them, nothing would really change, be on this merry-go-round. Whereas when I just do it, even if I'm a little bit annoyed or whatever, when I do it, he'll just naturally come and just be really appreciative of those little things that I do.
Yeah. And so how would you, based on this conversation, what do you think would be the way to communicate? Say you've got that little pet peeve. What would be the way to communicate with him on that to get to facilitate a shift, facilitate a change, to have him respond favorably?
Well, I'll speak from experience because another conversation we've had is like when I feel really overwhelmed by like everything I've got to do in terms of like work-wise and then, you know, sort of looking after the house and stuff, even just communicating that, like I get really overwhelmed and whatever, he will just naturally like go and do the dishes when they're piled up or just go and do those things. So again, it's like communicating what's going on for me and then he'll just go and do those things without me even asking.
Yeah. Because what do you want for your woman, Isaac? Like what is the thing that makes you the happiest to see in her?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot, like seeing her happy and joyful and just lit up is a big part of it, but pleased. Yeah. Just pleased with the situation she's in, pleased with me, pleased with, Yep,
totally. You wouldn't believe how happy it makes a man to see his woman happy. That's what he wants, because a happy woman basically says to him, I'm winning. I'm doing it right. Yeah, I am man. I am protecting. I'm providing. My woman is happy. It's the same as like, is there anything you wouldn't do to see your child happy? To the mothers listening to this, like the best feeling in the world as a mother is to see your children happy because you know you're succeeding. It basically tells you you're succeeding at your biological role to see them happy. Same with the man. If the man sees the woman happy, he's like, sweet, I am succeeding. I'm crushing it. I'm looking after my territory. So in the instance with the socks, you know, or cleaning up, like the Freya way, the biological way would basically be one, you're doing one already really, really well, not giving it any attention, like just do it. And I'll come back to this in a sec, but basically the man is also biologically wired to get your attention. And it doesn't matter how he gets that attention because you are the ultimate territory, right? So it doesn't matter how he gets your attention. He just wants your attention. So whether that's through quote unquote bad behavior or good behavior, he doesn't care. So if it's something you dislike, don't give it any attention, basically. So you're doing that part well already, like just going about it and doing your job. Now, Isaac will be really grateful because the internal of the home is the woman's domain. This is her nest, right? So in those moments, he's probably perceiving you to fulfill your biological role of like looking after and nurturing the inside of your home and nest. The other way you could go, the second part to it could be to express to Isaac, and this feels a bit unfair because he's listening right now. Just in case you didn't know, would be to express like, oh, I love it when I walk in and like the home is just clear and clutter free. I love having a clear space in our bedroom, and it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so happy, right? So that would be another way of like, then he gets, oh, she's going to be happy. She's going to feel good if this is the case. Yeah. So he's going to be driven to do that as well. And then the other way is to, as we've already spoken on, like express your need. So it might be like, hey, babe, I've got a massive day today and I really need to just come out of the office and have a clean and clear home so I can relax. Yeah. But it's short, it's concise. We don't go too much into the like, blah, 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 and this is why, and like the emotions of it. He shuts off after about 45 seconds. Once he's got what you need, he's out of there. His brain is done. He's like, I've got the problem. Now I'm going to go get a solution. The rest is just like blah, blah, blah.
You're right about that. Yeah. if she talks more about it, then like, you're right, about 45 seconds, maybe a little bit shorter. I literally won't remember anything she said after that. I'm like, I've got the objective. It's in my head. I'm already on it.
Exactly. Because if you're in a house that's burning down, do you want to stand there like having a chat with old mate about like reminiscing on all the things you're going to lose and, should we go out the front door or the back door, or like I'm feeling really sad about losing like you don't want to stand there having a convo with him. You want to be like, babe, I need to get out of here like right now. Where's our escape route? And he'll be like, boom, got it. That is biologically the man we want. So exactly. His brain, like, and we go through all of this in Freya, like literally how the brain is wired, how men have different sight, smell, taste, skin senses, hearing, like they are completely biologically wired differently to women for a specific reason and role. Just as women, their skills and biological attributes are completely different and aligned with what they need to look after children and fulfill their role. So with, the old men is from Mars, women are from Venus is really true. And it's for a specific reason. And once you understand like the biological reasonings for those, it just makes so much sense. And I've just found so much harmony has naturally returned to the relationship, understanding those biological drivers, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's not an asshole. He's just fulfilling his biological agreement. Like he's just living in alignment with his biology. Yeah. He's not being a dick.
Yeah. I love it. I love this conversation because that's to me, it's like there's so much simplicity in it. I think we are the ones that tend to overcomplicate things. And it's always, this is what I found, especially in the last sort of 5 years, like, going through the journey that I've sort of been on internally and in my relationship. It's coming back to the simple things. It's always coming back to the simplicity of things. And then it's just like, I've really been screwing this up for so long with all these unnecessary complications that don't need to be there.
100%. We totally over communicate it. Like nature is simple. She has a reason for everything. She has purpose and meaning behind everything she does. And we think we can outsmart her, but we can't. Like,
no.
Yeah. This is such an important conversation. And I'm still coming into how to verbalize some of these things and understanding, because with men, like there's different types of men as well. We have different statuses. Status is very important with men, whether they are conscious of it or not. And it's largely structured around like winning, like being successful about things, whether it's winning the woman, winning at business, winning the game. So that's like male status right there. And it's it's like the way you described it, it's like, this is biologically the most important thing to him is having the status, having the territory, winning the thing, winning support, like being a leader, if that's you, or supporting the winning leader. That's why so many men love having that winning team. You know, Tom Brady, everybody's got a man crush on him, but it's like, yeah, he's like a lot of guys' alpha in a way, and it's hardwired into him. So,
yeah. And so, like, based on today's conversation, do you understand why that winning is so important? What's the like clincher piece?
Yeah, it just makes sense that it's like winning is like you're providing, you're establishing territory, and
well,
that's
making
kind of
yourself more attractive to attract a mate. You know, if you're a winner, you've got a
born with
mate,
a
you've got
womb.
someone. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I was going to say that kind of like that concept of winning, it's almost like whatever it is that you're quote unquote winning is that's what you're like, that's your dominion. That's what you're actually claiming as your dominion. And then that comes back to the territory.
Territory is everything to the man because you're not born with a womb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so much more important than just like, because society, they'll poo-poo that, right? They'll just be like, oh, that's just like knuckle dragging jock stuff, this and that. But going back to Germany medicine, it literally will manifest as, you know, irregularities, diseases, cancers, like whole slew of stuff if you get this wrong, or if you try to just repress it and ignore it and be like, that's not real.
Well, this is what I want to get. Go ahead.
Yeah, it actually brings a nice full circle because the part I didn't complete in this conversation was explaining. So if we're talking about like suicidal ideation, and we've got the two most important relays here are the sexual frustration on the woman's side and the territorial loss on the man's side. So coronary arteries with the territorial loss and coronary veins and cervix with the woman on the female side. And so when we've got those two in play, basically then we create what's called the postmortal constellation. And the postmortal is a fascination with death because a man who's lost his territory, not only once, but twice now, is in nature kind of like, for want of a better word, like obsolete. Like nature basically is like, I'm kind of going to take you out, buddy, because you haven't fulfilled your biological drivers effectively. Yeah. So it creates the post-mortem, and same with the woman. If she has a sexual frustration multiple times, then she's got the post-mortal constellation as well. And it's kind of like nature saying, like, again, it sounds so harsh, but it's almost like, well, you're not really like cut out for having kids, or you're not really cut out for having the territory. Now, it's a big generalization, right? And there's a whole variation of degrees of that, you know, essence and dynamic. But those two are really important. They create the postmortal constellation. And so then this is when we've got the fascination with death, the suicidal ideation. Now, if someone is more heavily loaded on the estrogen side, then they're going to be in manic testosterone doing. And this is when they're at risk of suicide. If they're more loaded on the testosterone side, they're going to be more estrogen dominant and passive. So they will only think or talk about death, suicide, these sorts of things. But where the danger with medication is that when medication comes into it, it can create a really fast switch between those two sides. And if we've got someone who is depressed and suicidal ideation, but estrogen dominant, so won't actually commit the act, will only talk about it, and then we introduce a medical, you know, intervention or some other exogenous resource that gives them a really fast flip back into testosterone dominance. Now we've got the action hormone in play, and there's a bit of a lapse between that all settling out. So now we've got the suicidal ideation and the postmortal constellation, but they're in action and they want to do. And this is most commonly when suicide happens because that gets thrown out.
That's so interesting because I'm just thinking again to my experience. So then when I was fast forward to like 24 years old, around there, just before I turned 25, I was actually diagnosed with bipolar 2. So bipolar 2 is the one where the depressive episodes are worse than the mania, the manic episodes. And I use I've never identified as being bipolar. I literally just went because again, they offered me drugs. You be on them for the rest of your life. I was like, no, thanks. I'm going to do it the natural way and clean up my diet, lifestyle, did all that. Never really been affected by it. like, again, really, I mean, everyone has your normal kind of ups and downs, but not like that. But what's interesting, what you're saying about the medications, even though I wasn't on pharmaceutical medications, I was self-medicating with alcohol and drugs. And that's what, because I look back and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, no wonder I had bipolar, you know, quote unquote bipolar, because I was on drugs and alcohol all the time. It was up, down, so extreme. But then just from that perspective, what you just explained, it's like the drugs and alcohol are serving as the medication. So you're having these huge swings.
Yeah, drugs and alcohol still impact the frequency of the brain, and they'll change the personality. So we'll keep switching from side to side. And everyone's got conflicts on those temporal lobes. Like, I haven't seen a single brain scan that doesn't have some interaction there. So, yeah, everyone's got conflicts there. And it's actually, you know, Dr. Harmer said our personality is the sum of our conflicts. It's the unique collection of different conflicts that creates us and our character and who and how we are. And so, you know, that's not necessarily something we want to get rid of completely. That's what makes us unique. It's, you know, it's a map of our experiences. It gives us different skill sets. But definitely understanding it and downgrading some of those conflicts to help be in more balance, and knowing what our triggers are to go up and down on those different sides can definitely be helpful. My life and my mental status is like very, very like soothed now, I would say. I've downgraded a lot of my conflicts, and life is relatively cruisy. That's been a lot of work, and things still happen, but mentally I'm way more stable than I've ever been, because I've worked out a lot of my triggers. I've neutralized a lot of my conflicts. But yeah, alcohol and drugs definitely still changes those balances and the vibration of the brain. So anyone in a post-mortal constellation, we say, really shouldn't be touching alcohol at all if they want to live, because it can just be that quick flip that can really change things. Something else you said in there that I was going to speak to, but it's gone now. Might come back.
Well, I was going to ask too before, and you kind of touched on it. Oh yeah, go. If you've remembered it, go.
Yeah. So just like bipolar and manic depressive, basically all that is to us is that balance of the sides. Yeah. So when you go up into manic, you've loaded more on the estrogen side and depressed that. When you go down into depression, you've loaded more on the testosterone side, and now you're passive. So it's just, and our conflicts, it can be triggered multiple times a day, like multiple times a day. So we can be going in and out of these different personalities and different hormonal statuses, and this is what is bipolar or manic depressive.
Yeah, makes so much sense. Well, and you kind of touched on it already, but I kind of wanted to go a little bit more into sort of the conflict. So you mentioned the testosterone, the territorial conflict is the heart, and then the what is it? The sexual frustration conflict. That's sort of, and so how does that kind of manifest in terms of like conditions?
How's it experienced?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking like more in terms of like, is it like for women, would it be like endometriosis or PCOS, or is it? Yeah.
Yeah, so the physical cool. So territorial loss is the masculine, and this impacts the coronary arteries. So this is one of the programs that we do, you know, does need to be some caution around, because it can result in the heart attack in epileptocrisis. So yeah, the coronary arteries are impacted. You might get things like heart palpitations, and there's not too many other, like angina. Often it goes largely unnoticed, to be completely honest, during conflict activity. And it's only when that heart attack happens in epileptocrisis that, you know, then we get, or if it's recurrent, we can get, this is where like high cholesterol can be determined, plaque and that sort of thing. On the female side, the sexual frustration conflict impacts the coronary veins and the cervix. So this is a really important one. Well, they're both important, but like for women, this is what can be picked up as cervical cancer or changes in the cervix. It's commonly impacts the menstrual cycle. So we can have shortened or lengthened or absent menstrual cycles depending on the loading of the conflict. But yeah, cervical changes, then in healing, you know, there'll be discharge. And then the coronary veins are like similar to the arteries, but not so heavily impacted. So she might still get shortness of breath and angina and, you know, palpitations and these sorts of things, but the coronary veins, very, very rarely does the woman experience a heart attack, or the premenopausal woman very, very rarely experiences a heart attack. She would usually have to be on some kind of hormone altering, like the pill or medications or chemotherapy, or interact with the hormones. But postmenopausal, now the woman becomes testosterone dominant. So the estrogen drops, she becomes testosterone dominant. So now she's in the male perspective, and she can experience what was once experienced as a sexual frustration can now be experienced as a territorial loss. And so we can get heavy impact on the coronary arteries there as well. Still fairly rare, not as common for women to go through a heart attack as for men. And mostly, so the andropause, which is the hormonal switch for a man, comes at about 75. And so this is when the man naturally feminizes a little. He becomes estrogen dominant. And with this switch of hormones comes the switch of perspective as well. So now what he once perceived as a territorial loss, he can inadvertently resolve, because he doesn't see things like a man anymore. He sees them in the estrogen perspective. So this is why 75 plus, the heart attack in man has a higher rate and commonality. And it's basically just he's run a territorial loss conflict for a lifetime, and now he resolves that because he doesn't see things the same way anymore, because he's estrogen dominant.
Oh, so interesting.
Yeah. I'm thinking about this with like the depressive stuff with it's just been on my mind, like what's going on in America, especially. Maybe the veterans here have a similar problem, but in America, there's just this rampant thing with male suicide. I think it's mostly males, but there's probably women that are veterans that also have some issues with this. But it just seems like it's such a glaring problem. And I'm like, I don't quite understand why. I mean, I haven't been to combat. I was in the Army, but I have some friends that were over there. They didn't see combat, but they were in a combat zone and have had different forms of like survivor's guilt and different things. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, what is with so much of the depression with these guys coming over? And even well,
even just men in general have the higher rates of suicide. I think that's pretty much across the board, like in most countries. Yeah.
But it's something like, I mean, when you get into like the veterans, then your rate of suicide jumps. I mean, it's super high.
So let's break it down. It's like, certainly we can see that war and combat could be highly conflictual, right? Like there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And then we look at, okay, so what creates so two separate things, depression and suicide, two different things, right? So what creates the depression? We know that depression is created by the depression of testosterone, which is conflicts on the right-hand side of the brain, the male side of the brain, right? So these can be territorial anger, territorial loss, territorial anger, territorial loss, territorial fear. What else have we got on there? There's a couple more. They're evading my brain right now. But there's, like several conflicts on that right-hand side of the brain that can all depress testosterone, right? So that can create depression for sure. And this results in the man who comes home, doesn't want to do anything, in inaction, slow, low, passive depression. If he's had multiple territorial loss conflicts, then he could be in the postmortal depression. So what could be experienced and that's the postmortal constellation that results in the potential suicide, right? And yes, the man is more prone to suicide because he is still to some extent going to be testosterone dominant, right? He is the doer, he's in action. Whereas the woman, far less likely, unless we intervene with medication, to be testosterone, really have that drive to do. She'll talk about it, she'll think about it. So what could be a territorial loss in war? So many things. Literally the loss of country, the loss of comrades, the loss of
family, even losing your family to go to war. Yeah.
To war, exactly. Like leaving behind the woman, or maybe she moves on while these guys are at war, or maybe he comes home and she can't deal with the way he is anymore and she leaves him. There's a territorial loss. Loss of like the job that he actually considered his territory, if he was forced into combat, loss of children, like
I was thinking some of these guys even
war, like
Yeah.
especially so most of my time I was training on the special operations side, and they have a lower, I don't know how much lower, but a lower incidence of PTSD. And like, there's been a few guys that have talked about it that were in the upper echelons and like Delta Force that talked about missing it. And they say it's not post-traumatic stress disorder. It's lack of traumatic stress disorder. Like he actually really misses gunshots and bombs and like threats and like fixing things, like solving, finding the enemy. Like they missed that. And then they pulled out of that and put in a civilian life. And it's like they came alive and they were really connected to something. And then they're losing their territory there and being stuck back in like Costco.
This is absolutely possible as well, because how much purpose does a guy have in today's modern society?
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, this is the other problem with bringing females into, like, we can do every job a man can.
Yeah.
Right? Because the opportunity for men to feel purposeful and valuable in modern society is lowered and lowered and lowered. Right? Like, in primal biological standing, we needed you to survive.
Yeah.
You had to hunt, build, fend off the other tribes, kill tigers. Like, we needed you. We couldn't do that. Like, we literally couldn't do those roles as women. We were nowhere near as capable. We could do them if we had to, but they're not really, part of our natural biology. Now it's like, do we really need men? We can do most of the jobs they can. And this is where I believe the responsibility of the man comes in, to be aware of this dynamic and to put himself back, intentionally put himself back in positions where he truly feels like he has a purpose and he is needed and valued. And that is definitely a responsibility of the modern man if we want to see a rebalancing of this, to like go out and create opportunities for you to feel purposeful, totally build stuff, hunt stuff, like get together and have like muddy guys weekends where you go and, I don't know, chop trees and light fires.
All the things that Isaac wants to do.
Build stuff.
He loves that stuff.
And you nailed it earlier too, like getting skills. Developing skills, 100%. Having a mission, having a purpose, but building something with your hands, building something with a group. And who knows, maybe it's something that's so kick-ass that everybody wants it. And now, boom, you've got this purpose again. Like you're building these awesome, whether it's like guys building tiny homes or sheds or, upgrading things. Like we can always find a way out of it. But I feel like a lot of men have lost that belief that they can find a way out of it. They're just like, oh, all the problems have solved. I just go to Amazon and get anything I want. Like,
well, and this is where I think it comes back to like what you were saying earlier, Nellie, where it's not our responsibility as women to like get men to do that, but it's when we start to value the man that can do those things instead of being like, oh, well, I'm a woman, I can do everything, anything, and I'll just have a career and I don't need no man, that whole I don't need no man thing. Like it's when the women stop valuing that instead, that I think that's when men can again, we kind of open the door for them to step back into that really masculine role.
Totally. And I think it's so arrogant of us. Like you think about any natural disaster, fire, flood, tornadoes, tsunamis, how many women in that case are going to be going, I don't need no man.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
We're all going to be going, give me all the men right now.
Yeah.
Bring them here. I'll take them all.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
well, because it's even
that, like...
and it's even just stepping out of that. Like when I wasn't in relationships, if I got a flat tire or something happened at home, who did I call? My dad or my brother? Like we need men. We 100% need men. Whether you're in a relationship with them or not is irrelevant. We need men.
Correct. Yeah, and it's beautiful because the man will look after any woman. He loves all women.
Yeah,
he loves femininity. Right. He will only like serve and really be, intimately entangled with the feminine woman that is his territory, but he loves all women. He is biologically wired to protect and provide all women. So long as they are feminine women. If they're masculine women, he's not so, obliged to that. He's like, nah, you have got it. You've got it for yourself. You're my competition.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's so, people can do whatever they want. The same thing. Like you can have a woman on a firefighter, on the lineup for the firefighter squad or whatever they call it. It's like not even the right terminology. My brain had a brain fart or something, but, like a female paramedic and a fire team I'm stuck on that. Why can't I remember what a firefighter team is called? But I worked in one.
Yeah, fire squad. Is that what they're called?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I think I've just been in Australia too long. I can't remember the American terms. Fire squad. But so when I was a medic in the Army,
the fire brigade.
Yeah,
they're a brigade. That's right.
The fire team. Fire team's a military structure, but infantry.
And the fire squad just sounds like you're gonna line them up and shoot them or something.
Yeah, but you've got this kind of culture, and it's very country, Midwest, like rural, and it's like I got women farmers, women firemen, women police officers, sheriffs. They're even trying to put women into like infantry and like combat specific roles, and a lot of guys are like, yeah, that's great. Like these women are, kicking ass. I like a kick-ass woman who can shoot a rifle and all
it's
this
all
stuff.
about.
And I'm like, but she's giving up something too. It's not just it's the same thing, but it's just a more like conservative or right wing version of the feminism thing, although a different attitude about it.
It's all about like being progressive. Like that's how it's viewed now. Women are joining the military and being deployed, and we're so progressive. Like we're moving forward, and like I think we're moving backwards in that sense. Like we're literally sending our women who are meant to bear children and continue the human race off to battle. Like it's so inverted.
Yeah, and like I said, like I 100% trust it for the individual. Like everyone is here to have a different experience and learn different things to complete their soul journeys, and there's so much more conversation to this. I totally trust it for the individual, but biologically, not so progressive.
Yeah.
So what happens with a man's territory is taken away? Is it the same, or is it just as bad, or is it worse, or something else if he willingly like gives up his territory? Is it just the same territory loss?
No, if he gives up his territory, which sometimes he will do because the man is generous. He is a protector, provider. And the man will also, like with women, if we compete and somebody beats us, we're going to be pretty sour towards them. But with men, if you compete and someone beats you, you're usually actually going to be still pretty loyal to that person. You're going to be like, all right, mate, like you won, but like, how can I best help you with this mission? So sometimes he will willingly give it up. Now, this is not a territorial loss because it's not a shock. We've got to remember that these biological programs only start with shocks. So a DHS, a Dirk-Harmer syndrome event, has to be acute, isolating, and unexpected. It really catches you on the wrong foot. So if you willingly give away your territory, no, it's not going to register as a DHS. It's not going to initiate a biological program. There could be, if you already have those conflicts running, there could be elements within those dynamics that attracts and sort of build conflict load in some way. And I would question, like, why did he want to give the territory away? It's like, what instigated that? But the actual act of it itself, no, wouldn't be a territorial loss per se.
Okay. I was just thinking like in the context of like someone that just gives up and has lost the will to hold their territory.
Well, this would
broad
kind of
spectrum
already tell
Western
me that,
man right now.
Yeah, I mean, that would kind of tell me that he's estrogen dominant anyway. But my question would be, why? Why is he giving up? What's making him give up? And often it's the woman that doesn't believe in him, the woman who panders to his emotions, the woman who criticizes him, the woman who criticizes his ideas. Like, it's a really vulnerable thing for a male to share his ideas with the woman. And when she crushes them, again, it's just like, it crushes the man, it crushes the testosterone. So it's like, why did he give up in the first place?
Yeah. Well, and this is why it's so important. I just realized I was muted. This is why it's so important that, and Isaac and I often speak about this, and with the work that we sort of intend on doing together in terms of, working more in the space of relationships, but then like together, but then going and doing me working with women and him working with men. This is why I think it's so important for us to start to go back to that. Because again, this is what we've lost from more traditional and ancient civilizations, where women would go and do secret women's business and men would go and do secret men's business. So I think that's what the indigenous call it, but you know what I mean? And I think it's so important to have that, because like what you were saying, earlier, I can't remember what you were saying, but it made me think, like, I think that's why, and we were just having a conversation about this where I said, like, I don't feel, and again, I used to do this in my previous relationships. They were very codependent. And so I would go to my partner for everything, but then in that, they're often being criticized because I can't vent. I'm not venting to anyone else. I'm venting to my partner about what's annoying me. And there's that criticism in there. Whereas now there's a lot of things I don't feel the need to share with Isaac. Not that I'm hiding anything, but I would rather go and speak to my girlfriends or my mom or like women, because that is more, and again, that's more of a feminine energy. We like to talk about our emotions and like get it out and whatever. Men are like, you just start talking too much about how you feel. And like you said, they're just kind of like not even really present with you. Or they can even take that as a criticism because they feel like, when you're venting about how you're feeling, especially within the context of the relationship, they might take that on as like they're making you feel that way. And then it's almost like that criticism piece again. So I think it's so important for us to go back to that, women being more with women and men being more with men to do certain types of work and just expressing ourselves, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We as women have a lot of expectations on men that are not biologically appropriate. Men are here to protect, provide, and love the woman. That's it. And this again comes back to like good old social media and Disney. We as women now have these crazy expectations that he's going to be Prince Charming and take us on dates and listen to us and fly us to somewhere else and like entertain us and all these things. And we've put all the expectation onto the man who already has a pretty big load: protect, provide, love the woman. It might be three things, but that's a big responsibility if it's done properly, right? And we put all this extra load on him and then criticize him for not doing it properly, and it's not even stuff he's biologically designed to do. So the problem in this, and I am very passionate about this topic, because I think we as women, again, this is a generalization, right? All of this is generalizations. There's going to be nuances in all different relationships and all that sort of thing. Yeah. As a generalization, I think we as women have really villainized men. And I think that's really messed up because I think the problem is actually not with men. I think the problem is with us as women ourselves and the lack of community between women. Yeah. So we would traditionally have lots of other women around us, sisters, aunties, grandmothers, that is where a lot of our interaction would happen. And that's what's missing today is that women have been like vetted against each other. Now we see each other as competition. And instead of working together and holding each other, we've again separated, disconnected, and then we're expecting our man to provide all the things that the women's circle should be. And he's not doing them properly because he can't do them properly because he's not biologically designed to do them properly. And then we attack him for not doing them properly, and then that falls apart as well. So, I think we as women have got to get a lot better at coming back to community, and that is going to take a lot of compromise and a lot of internal work for us women. Because at the moment there is a huge disconnect, and we are, in my opinion, in a very unhealthy state of selfishness. And I say unhealthy state of selfishness because actually selfish is an appropriate feminine trait. Yeah. And by that, like, why would it be appropriate for a woman to be selfish?
Well, because I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is that if you're going to bear children and raise children, you need to come first, because if you can't do that, you're no good to them.
Yep, correct. We basically have to make sure, like, we always want more and we want as much resource as we can get, but it's actually not for us. It's our biological driver for our offspring. So selfish is a feminine trait and it's totally fine when it's in check. But I think we've gotten into unhealthy selfish patterns that, in my opinion, are being disguised as self-love and boundaries and all these other things that are actually not a healthy, integral version of selfishness. They are, I guess you might say, like a shadow side to selfishness that is really isolating us and making us very separated, very isolated, very disconnected from each other, which then is creating that ripple effect issue in the relationship and the interactions with men. So us as women are going to really have to come off our pedestals and really do a lot of work to chill ourselves the F out and really learn to compromise again and learn how to relate and be in equal value exchange relationships with other women. And I think that's a really big part of the problem of where our society is at the moment.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. Do you think that the like this competition with women, or even just tearing each other down, do you think that's a biological thing that's kind of innate and it has been hijacked? Or do you feel like it's like largely like artificial, like it's a society falling apart type symptom?
Yeah, I think you used a good word there, hijacked, because from my perspective, it is biologically appropriate, like it's biological driver that we want the resources, right? We want the resources for our kids. So there is that element of selfishness and wanting to make sure that we've got the resources for our offspring. But I think hijacked is a really good word. I think that biological element has been used to an advantage of consumerism and agenda or whatever it is, because it's like that is within us, but it's been played upon and it's been hijacked, and now it's been vetted, put against each other instead of letting it be what it is naturally and biologically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's the system trying to recorrect itself, because a lot of that comes up in context of women in corporations and companies where they're like, oh, we need more women CEOs. And they're like, well, part of the reason there's not as many women CEOs is because they undercut each other all the time. And they're very they're very efficient at stopping them from climbing. But it's almost like you're not really meant to do that anyways. So and
there's also that like a masculinized woman is going to be more competitive because that's more masculine. I think that comes into like this women tearing each other down thing. I think that's very much come like in this age that we're in, where the women are competing and they're career driven and all of these more like masculine traits. But I actually wanted to ask you too, Nellie, and I'd probably be my last question, because I know we don't have much time and I could literally talk to you about this for hours. It's just so fascinating. But just circling back around to the conflicts and in terms, and I love that you said like you really rarely come across people that like don't have these conflicts. Where would you say they can start? Because obviously, and I think I've heard, it must have been Dr. Melissa Sell talking about this in regard to, I think she was talking about girls that have experienced sexual abuse, but obviously boys can experience sexual abuse in childhood as well. And so that's just like one example that comes to mind. But how can these conflicts sort of arise like earlier in childhood? Because obviously we're talking a lot about relationships and things sort of more in adulthood, but how can they arise during childhood? Like where can they start?
Yeah. So what is the male's first territory?
His mum?
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep. So issues with the mother. Who is the girl's first partner?
Dad.
Yep. He's her first protector provider. So just listening out for my son. He may come in again in a sec. So yeah. Woman, male's first territory, and father, female's first partner. He is her first protector provider. So a lot of our conflicts are initiated in childhood. When we talk about the sexual frustration conflict, it's actually far less about sex and abuse than you would think. And it's more about, I don't know who the father of my children's going to be. You think about sex and sexuality in the biological context. So it's like, I don't know who the father of my children's going to be. I don't know who's going to resource and provide for me. So things like rejection, it can be relatively innocent. Like a first sexual frustration can be as innocent as like a perceived rejection by the father, or a divorce, a split in the marriage, or father leaves for some reason. Even things like a sibling is born and there's a perception that the father chooses the sibling, things like that. But she really sees him as her first partner. So the sexual frustration is like, I'm torn away from the protector, provider, and I don't know who's going to resource me anymore. There can be, it can go into the context of another common first sexual frustration is like seeing pornography, or walking in, seeing mum and dad having sex, or, there can be that more sexual element to it. It could be an abuse, but usually we would actually see different programs arise from abuse. Usually with abuse, what I see more of is actually motor conflicts, or like I couldn't get away, I couldn't run away, I couldn't move. I see more of with sexual abuse than sexual frustration. Seeing people naked, lots of things that can happen there, but a lot of these are set up in childhood for sure. And then the territorial loss for the male, issues with the mum not being available, mum, again, a sibling quote unquote taking a mum, mum leaving, anything. You think about what the territory is for a child: toys, pets, like space, room. So they can easily be set up in childhood. And then once a relay has been impacted once, it's like more sensitive to being impacted or relapsed or re-triggered. Even if the conflict gets resolved, it's still more sensitive. They have an essence now of like what that program is. That's kind of where things begin. Most people's conflicts begin in childhood. And then we kind of see like maybe some in the later years of adulthood, some in their 20s and 30s, some as adults, but they have to be pretty big things. The child is more sensitive, and the child is far more biological as well. Like the child responds to really quite primal events, whereas the adult tends to be a bit more on the emotional, figurative perspective side of things, intellectual conflicts, if that makes sense. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm even just reflecting on some of my conflicts because, they're not like big things. I didn't experience sexual abuse or any kind of abuse as a child, but it's like, even just that, even what was the word you used, like rejection, like the feeling almost of rejection or abandonment or whatever. I can definitely see how that's then sort of played out. And then I think what you're speaking to is like, again, just what you said before about how just things resonate as truth, because when you look at like, in adulthood, your romantic relationships, generally they're going to sort of play out in the way that for women, the relationship with their dad, and for men, the relationship with their mother. Again, very generally speaking, the patterns that are already existing with the parents will generally play out in the relationship. So this 100% resonates.
Yeah. We're always being given opportunities to resolve our conflicts as well. I believe in that. So.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, well, thank you so much. I've loved this conversation. Yes, I've loved it. And I'm going to be sending this to so many people. It's definitely going to get the wheels are going to be turning, I think, for a lot of people listening to this.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, appreciate you coming on and having this amazing, candid conversation. And we love the openness and sharing, some of our, the perspectives that may not be as popular these days, but need to be said. So I'm glad that there's someone like you that's willing to put your hand up and say the things. And where can people go and find out more about what you're doing? You mentioned the Freya program. What's that all about, and where can they find it?
Yeah, so Freya is Dr. Sasha Tessik's program. It is for women only. That's a 12-week program. And my role in that has just been supporting him in bringing it to Australia. He's been running it in Europe for years. And we've done, 4 rounds now. I think this is our 4th round coming up in September. It's really amazing. And that's, I would say, like, if you want to go deep into everything we've spoken about today in terms of the masculine feminine dynamic, that's definitely the place to be. At the time of recording this podcast, we've actually only got 3 spots left in that one for September. But they do have other time zones as well that you can jump in on. And then, myself personally, my website's nelliebwell.com.au. .com. I'm just about to change it too. So you might find it if you're listening to this later on, you might find it at newearthwellness.com.au. But for now, it's still Nellie B. Well. And I'm over on Instagram at Nellie_newearthwellness. And they're probably the 2 places that I'm the most active. My flagship course would be the GNM GHK Foundations course. And that one's a lifetime access because there's still so much more information coming out about GNM. Like, some of Dr. Harmer's works aren't even translated into English yet.
Oh, wow.
This is the course that Melissa's been a part of. She's one of our students in there. It goes through just all the crux of the foundations of GNM GHK. We touch on the masculine feminine stuff as well. And in there, we have 2 calls a month that you have access to for a lifetime. We've got a private Telegram group, and I'm always updating and refreshing the information in there because, like I said, some of it we don't even have in English yet. So, lifetime access to that one. Plenty of other offerings on the website, so we can work together one-to-one. Practitioner's course as well. If you really want to dive in deep and bring this into your work, that follows on from the Foundations course.
Amazing. Yeah, your GNM course has been on my wish list for quite some time, probably since I first heard you, and as I looked you up, and I was like, because when I first learned of German new medicine, I was like, I need to learn more about this because I just love that it can be applied again, like you're working more with that's not just the physical. It's sort of starting again with the perception and starting with the metaphysical, so to speak. And then now with the Freya, I'm like, just add that to the list as well because I just find it fascinating. So I've got all your courses on my wish list.
Yeah, the perceptual change stuff is very close to my heart. Like I really, really love that aspect of this work. My favorite tool there, so I'm a Demartini facilitator as well, and that's such a profound and powerful tool for perceptual change. That and GNM just, I find, integrate so beautifully well together. We talk about that a lot in the Foundations program as well. Delighted to meet you guys. Thanks for having me on. It was super fun.
Thanks, you too, Nellie. And whenever we want to dive deeper into any aspect of GNM, I think we'll have to get you on again because I love this conversation so much.
Cool. Yep. Happy to be involved. And if we can inspire some people out there to, make some shifts that bring them back into biological alignment and feel like truth to them, then I'm here for it. So.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Natural AF podcast, where we explore holistic healing modalities, mindsets, and methods that reconnect us to nature and our natural state of being.
If something resonated, share this episode and see the show notes for our guest links, as well as all of our discount codes for our aligned affiliates and Natural Art Form, where we handcraft a range of organic, natural remedies to help support your body's natural healing abilities and help support the show.
If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please take a few seconds to leave us a rating and review. And if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, hit the like button and drop us a comment, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for the latest updates.
We're not here to conform. We're here to remember what's real. So step into your power, be curious, and be natural AF.